Welcome back to Weather Now. It's been 10 months since a strong derecho unexpectedly plowed through the Houston region, causing widespread damage. Recent findings from Florida International University found that the May storm produced more significant damage to the city's high-rises than Hurricane Beryl did. Today we have Houston Chronicle meteorologist Justin Ballard back to discuss more on the findings of this fascinating research done right here on Houston. Welcome, Justin.
Well, thank you for having me on this Wednesday.
Okay, so we thought first it'd be good to just go ahead and take a recap of what exactly happened. Maybe you're new to Houston and missed out on this, but it was quite an event. And I have to say, Justin, in almost 20 years of covering weather in Southeast Texas, I've never seen a wind event like this roar right through the city of Houston.
Unfortunately, this was my second derecho covering, and you know, this is just before 6 o'clock. So this is right before the main line of wind came through downtown Houston. It really started flexing its muscles right as it was entering Harris County.
Yeah, we could tell as it was approaching the city, we were looking at the Doppler winds, and we were seeing it off the color chart, things that we typically only see with a Category 1 or 2 hurricane. So we knew it meant business, and then we started to see that rotation right as it was coming into Cypress, and that was the first tornado that it threw down.
First of several, and then of course we're talking about the straight line winds that came through downtown Houston later in the evening. Of course, this right here, this warning that you see, that big orange polygon, first destructive severe thunderstorm warning in Houston.
Yeah, and any time a destructive severe thunderstorm warning is issued, it triggers everyone's cell phone that's within the warned area. This is the first time this has been issued for the greater Houston region, and so we knew it was a serious storm. Only issued if those winds are expected to be gusting above 80 miles per hour. And then it just kind of cruised right on down Highway 290 from that northwest direction and into downtown Houston.
And that is where we kind of start our analysis of the wind damage that happened in downtown Houston. That direction really makes a big difference where it came from.
Okay, so let's bring in a 3D model of the city and let's talk about exactly what that direction of the wind did and why that matters compared to, say, what Hurricane Beryl did to us.
So we're essentially looking at downtown Houston from northwest to southeast. So from the northwest side of the central business district to the southeast side, and you see those winds coming into the city, and they were coming in.
I can feel it right now. It's kind of pushing against me.
80 to 100 mile per hour winds were kind of estimated by National Weather Service Doppler radars. And in fact, we could have seen slightly higher, very localized increases in winds, even higher than 100 miles per hour down at the immediate surface because those winds were being funneled through downtown's buildings.
So what happened when those winds were hitting those buildings?
They were bouncing. Obviously,
literally bouncing around.
Literally bouncing around. You can't have wind go through buildings, right, or mountains or any kind of obstructions like that. So they were effectively bouncing off the glass ceilings or glass walls, essentially, of these big buildings through downtown. And we've got a couple of skyscrapers in downtown Houston.
And the research also indicated that increased the amount of suction that those windows were feeling, because we literally saw in some videos windows just getting sucked out of vehicles even. It was incredible.
I believe the exact number, I don't know the exact number, but it's over 3,200 windows in downtown Houston were completely shattered, right? Particularly hard hit was the Chevron building, which saw some kind of neat, sort of interesting case study there, because if you look across the street from the Chevron station is another, or Chevron building, I should say, is another large Chevron complex. It faced minimal damage. So it was that negative pressure, that suction, that really made a difference as that wind was kind of whipping through downtown.
And what role could have the windborne debris played in the window damage?
I think as far as that particular case goes, likely a little bit of a lower, because that damage was higher up on the building. Lower elevation damage was likely done by wind debris and stuff flying around, as you're seeing kind of on this 3D rendering. But for the most part, the higher elevation damage was likely caused by that kind of ricocheting of wind off of buildings.
Okay, so we saw similar winds come through during Hurricane Beryl, but we did not see the same damage pattern repeated. Why did the researchers think that was the case?
The researchers hypothesized that, the wind pattern in hurricanes is very different than the wind pattern in severe thunderstorms. Severe thunderstorms are very chaotic. Everything about them is chaotic. Now, obviously, we lived through Hurricane Beryl, and
it felt chaotic.
Chaos, for sure, but it's a different kind of sort of mechanism. The winds are constantly kind of moving around and changing, whereas in tropical systems, they're a little more steady state. So not quite as volatile.
So think about the movement of the wind around a tropical system. It's more uniform, right? Not as chaotic and just everywhere as you get with those really severe. That's really fascinating. So what's the big takeaway here, Justin? What can we learn from these events?
I think being able to kind of go through and look at infrastructure. We've got the building guidance for a lot of these buildings, you've got to kind of take in mind that there are lots of buildings in downtown Houston, and they're very susceptible. We saw that with the derecho, and we saw it to some extent, a few windows broken and blown out during Hurricane Beryl. But, Houston has a 96%, severe risk from the National Centers for Environmental Information and a 100% risk from tropical cyclones. We have to take these threats seriously, and we have to build infrastructure accordingly, which isn't necessarily cheap to do.
Sure, and that risk is for billion-dollar disasters,
Correct.
of which both Beryl and the derecho were certainly billion-dollar disasters here.